Hi, I'm Eric Ostro, host of Reliving the Lortel. For Season 3, we are focusing on the intersection of arts and advocacy. So many off-Broadway artists give back to their communities. This season, we are giving them the opportunity to speak about how and why they chose the causes they devote themselves to, and how those causes help them make them the people and artists they are today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live at the Lortel. I introduce my co-host for the evening, Joy DeMichelle. Joy, hello.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you. I am so honored, and Joy is so honored to have someone that I've considered an icon in this industry and someone that I have looked up to for many, many years, especially the years at American Fitness. Sandra Bernhard, performer, actress, singer, and author. Sandra Bernhard is currently was a series regular on Pose, and is in her 5th year hosting her weekly radio show, Sandyland, on Sirius XM Andy Radio. By the way, you must listen to this, for which she won a Broadcasting Gracie Award. A pioneer of the one-woman show, Bernhard brings a unique and raucous mix of cabaret, stand-up, rock and roll, social commentary to her live stage performances. Bernhard was awarded Best Supporting Actress by the National Society of Film Critics for the film The King of Comedy, and she has written 3 books. She's a huge supporter of Up to Us, whose mission is to engage, train, and support sports coaches to transform youth programs and communities. Ladies and gentlemen, someone I admire so much. Please welcome Sandra Bernhard. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here. And I'm also very excited. Just a few days ago, my groundbreaking one-woman film, Without You I'm Nothing, has now been added to the Criterion collection.
Amazing.
And I'm so impressed by that and excited. And I'm also deeply saddened that my collaborator and director, John Boscovich, who was also a conceptual artist, passed away about 15 years ago. And so he wasn't here because that would have been something he would really have been excited about. So I'd like to mention that. And under these, auspices, it seems like the right place to talk about things like that.
Absolutely. Without You is a phenomenal show. And now people will be able to see it.
Yeah, they will. What
an amazing accomplishment. Do you feel fancy now?
I do feel fancy. I feel like I'm an intellectual, what's the word, cogninetti, whatever the Italian word is, to be a part of, the inner sanctum of the intellectuals. Obviously,
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the word, right?
What is that word? I better look it up. But I got to get my vocabulary polished up here. This is an embarrassment. Cognicetti. Is that right? I think somebody will correct me, or somebody will take me down, one way or the other. But it's not. At least they won't cancel me for that.
Absolutely not. So while we're talking about it, our 3rd season is about where your art meets your activism. I would love to talk to you a little bit about Up to Us, which you've been a big part of.
Well, I don't know if I've been a big part of it. I mean, my good friend David Colbert, who's my dermatologist, is a
mine too.
Oh, Dave. He got me involved with it. And I think it's so amazing when kids who are in, very stressful situations, growing up in the inner city without resources, have mentors and can access their frustration through physical activity. I mean, we all know for ourselves, as simple as it is to go to the gym where we first met, it makes such a difference in your headspace. But if you're also a kid who's got no direction and not a great infrastructure emotionally, to have, somebody you can lean on who believes in you and also guides you through something, not only physically, but emotionally, is a big thing. And more than ever, we need that for our kids. I mean, with COVID and just sort of the isolation we've all been experiencing, it's just terrible. The kids just need it. And even as adults, we tend to dive into depression and, existential crisis. The kid doesn't have the resources to work their way out of it. So we've got to focus in on our kids. We've got to have a lifeline to bring them through these times. we went from COVID now to this world war in Ukraine. And you sit back and you watch these people just trying to live their lives. They seemingly have a great sense of humor, a great culture. And this, monster, this, isolated, repressive, angry guy, Vladimir Putin, wants to suck the life out of all the people who are just trying to move forward. I think culturally, Ukraine seems to be very thriving, a young, groovy president, young people. And now he's decimating it. So as a person in the world, you're taking this all in. You're trying to disseminate it. And you're like, what is this? Why are people crushing each other? Why are people beating the stuffing out of each other? I don't understand it. I don't understand that mentality or the anger or the bitterness of our world and our culture right here at home. I mean, it's endemic. It's sick.
It's here. It's everywhere. All these buildings that have been destroyed will never be rebuilt. All of these people that are leaving this country and trying to get into Poland and to Germany. And I was just watching something. They were taking all of these magnificent crippled children. They were dragging them to blankets on a train. They were trying to get them out first to get them to Poland. The volunteers that they have there are actually pretty amazing people, but we don't have enough.
I mean, also, you're literally caught off guard. And as we know, during the pandemic, when you're in a city and you're experiencing the trauma, you don't know until you're there. I mean, every time you move to a different spot on the globe and on the planet, you have a deeper understanding of the culture and how they live their day-to-day life. But if you're not there and you're trying to reach out, you're reaching out in the darkness. Everybody's trying, but it's just you're getting pummeled. The people are being pummeled. People reaching out are being, met with, all sorts of,
absolutely right,
interference. It's just a real rough time all the way around.
So, I mean, I remember you and I both lived in Chelsea. And at the time, did you feel a lot of pressure to be that kind of gay icon that we all looked up? Was there a pressure on you?
Well, there was never a pressure, but I just think it was easier in the 80s and the 90s to be a gay icon. I think that, the gay community was more, it was bubbling up. There was more excitement. The AIDS epidemic brought people closer together. The artistry, the imagination, the creativity of gay culture has always been so inspiring. And I think, we've all sort of been homogenized into the new millennium, and certainly this decade, with social media and just the lack of actual hands-on interaction with people has pulled us apart and sort of torn at the foundation of what was so beautiful and natural about the gay movement. It's not that I don't feel I'm still not respected but it's just, when people like RuPaul's Drag Race, everybody wants to be a part of, everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. And there was a time when the people who worked hard and were creative and did their work were the people that were celebrated. Now everybody wants to be celebrated. So it's like, I don't even care anymore. As long as people come to my shows, I keep getting work as an actor and I have my outlets creatively. I've sort of just put the feeling of being, needing to be acknowledged on the back burner. Plow ahead. That's all you can do. You just got to plow ahead.
What was it like going backwards in time, doing Pose, playing that nurse that represented so many of those incredible nurses that were there holding the hands of these AIDS patients? I can't think of anybody better to play the role than you. Your pathos came through, your beauty from the inside came from the outside. It was such a beautiful thing to watch. I was a young kid in the 80s, but I remember the AIDS epidemic. And what was that like to relive and be there?
Well, I mean, we all lost a lot of good friends during that time. And, I don't think we thought as much about the people who were, doing all they could do to keep people alive than when we did looking back. So it's an opportunity to pay tribute to those people and also to go dip into the wells of emotion that I've stored up over the years, thinking about my friends that died during the AIDS epidemic. There was a lot to draw upon, and it was very emotional for everybody. I mean, the whole show was just a big, huge well of emotion. So as much as, we all wanted it to go on, I think everybody was ready to move on in, their own lives and move on to new projects, because it was really hard on everybody. Incredibly rewarding, beautiful, but it had to kind of draw to a close.
Yeah, I bet.
So I wanted to backtrack for just 1 second and talk about the organization that you were involved with. How did you get involved with them?
Through my friend, Dr. David Colbert, who is a big, huge supporter, and he has helped host many of their spring galas, which I'm sure is coming up again soon. I mean, during the pandemic, of course, it's been on Zoom and, missing some of that great, in-person experience. I've hosted it a couple of times. And it's people that are, that volunteer their time to work with kids in the inner cities. And a lot of athletes and people who were athletes are involved with it. And it's just a great, as I sort of already described it, so I don't want to be redundant.
Right.
It's a great opportunity on both ends to mentor kids and be a kid who needs someone to help guide them through, traumatic times in their lives.
So how do you get involved with being a mentor, or do you just go to the website, which we can put up online?
Yeah, you just go to the website, and there's all kinds of ways of entering the experience.
In terms of your shows, I mean, in terms of me, I mean, your show was when I felt like those shows that you did downtown, Without You, I'm Nothing, which was, became this huge hit. Where did the idea to kind of do everything that you're so good at? You're a great rock and roll singer. You're a phenomenal stand-up comedian. You're a wonderful actor. And then you pulled those all together to create a show.
Right.
Was that something that was always an idea of that's what you wanted to do, to mix all those things together, or it just became osmosis? It just became what it became?
Well, even when I was starting out, when I was, very young in the 70s, and I was at comedy clubs, I was always doing things that were very separate from just getting up and telling jokes and doing self-deprecating, typical material for women. At that time, I was doing things that were post-feminist and a celebration of being unique, and sort of like just bringing together all the ideas of being a successful woman, not being like everybody else, synthesizing everything. As I matured as an artist, the idea of bringing the music and the acting and the comedy and the commentary all together just seemed like a no-brainer, and kind of the road I was always on anyway. But as I became more adept and nimble at it, it just started to flow and grow and evolve. So it wasn't anything that was sort of conscious in that way. It just started to come together like that.
You were working the comedy club circuit, asserting your sexuality and using it to kind of embarrass the men that would kind of, say those things. No woman had really done that before, is what you say. I didn't want men to think they controlled me. I'm in control of my life, and you couldn't invade it if you tried. I mean, you were the first person who really kind of got up there and said, you know what, fuck you, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a lot of empathy for everybody. I think that being a man growing up in our macho American culture is very difficult to break out of. So it's also done with a certain amount of emotion and care toward everybody, but it's an opportunity for not only me, but for a male audience member to go, oh, wow, this is sort of like liberating for me too. It doesn't always have to be all on my shoulders, that I'm guiding, my wife, my girlfriend, my daughter through life, and everybody's got to get a hold of themselves and be independent. And I think that's always been my message above everything. It's like, it's up to you. It's up to you to like forge your path. And it's not easy.
And be yourself.
Well, be yourself, but be strong and don't lean on somebody and drain them, because the patriarchy can work both ways. You can take advantage of it and use it, or you can just go, no, I'm not. I'm going to be an individual standing on my own, and I'm not going to take advantage of what men want to do, which is to control me through money and and power. So both people have to be disciplined in their approach to having relationships and being independent people in the world.
And speaking of independence and artists having to have and find their voices, you came along during a time when having a unique voice was not necessarily something that you'd get clobbered over the head for. It was something that people would take notice of and some people would celebrate. Well, now we live in the age of cancel culture. So what advice do you have for young artists coming up that feel as though their voice is not necessarily what's mainstream, and it is unique to them, but they've got some stuff to say that might go against the grain?
Well, I mean, you've got to be very strong and independent and believe in your word. And you also have to be able to defend your thesis. You can't just say things that are controversial if you don't have, the nuanced conversation ready to back it up. If you're just there to shock people, it's not interesting. Everything possibly shocking has already been said in 1,000 different ways, if not 10 million different ways. So if you're really trying to say something new and it might unnerve people, then you better be able to back it up with what your point of view is and what you're trying to say through that, whether it's your physicality, whether it's your sexuality, whether it's whatever it is, whatever your message is, you've got to be able to back it up.
Mm-hmm. Can I keep going, Eric?
Yeah, please go ahead, of course.
Okay. Going back to that whole idea of being an artist, putting your art out there, being able to back it up, right? For people who want to take risks in ways that back in the day, you guys used to be able to, if I want to do one of the skits on the Richard Pryor show was somebody who was saying, I want to be a Black person. And he had a whole skit on that thing. Well, now if somebody does that, it becomes a whole thing about cultural appropriation or what have you. So for those artists who are there are things I want, like Awkwafina took so much heat for having done her interpretation of what a Black voice was. How can an artist, because it's even coming down on Black artists in that same way where it's well, are you really Jamaican? Well, are you really African? It's oh my God, are you serious? So what do you say for artists who are I want to explore so many different parts of me, but there isn't space for that anymore?
Not unless you want to go through, go in and do 12 rounds and, end up getting knocked out.
Right.
I mean, who wants it? Who wants it? I mean, I had the luxury of performing at a time when not only were all bets off, but I had the support of Paul Mooney, who was my mentor, who discovered me, who anointed me and allowed me to say and do things in the Black realm that very few white people ever got to experience. He brought everybody into the Richard Pryor show, and they pushed the envelope until it just busted wide open. Mm-hmm. But people loved it because it was something they'd never seen before. It woke people up. It was inspiring. It was crazy. It was everything you wanted it to be. But you would need a Richard Pryor. But I don't even know. I don't know if Richard Pryor could do today what he did then. I don't know. Right. Paul Mooney is gone. Richard Pryor's gone. My friend Andre Leon Talley is gone. All the people who I learned so much from sitting at the feet of these masters. I mean, they were my masters, and I don't mean that in a racial context. I don't know. I don't know who's going to pick up that mantle, and I don't think anybody really can. And I just don't think we're going to ever be able to go back there again.
Yeah. So how do you think it's changed? How has the field of comedy changed throughout the years for you? Less taboo subjects to joke around.
It just sort of hit, everything just sort of hit the fan in the past 3 or 4, 5 years. I was still feeling like I could say almost anything. And then suddenly it was just oh my God. I mean, it came down like a rain of fire. It was like hell on earth, for a creative person. And I was like, no, I'm not going to push it anymore. I don't want to be in the eye of the storm. I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to get pummeled. I don't want to get beaten up. And I don't want to have to go back to 1978 and say, listen, this is what the message was. These are the people that I was associated with who I got to put the message through. They churned it out. Because people will just go, yeah, who do you think you are? And it's like, whatever. I'm not, I'm just not going to fight. I'm not fighting it. I'll find my own way into my comedy, my commentary, and I make it personal and I make it anecdotal. And it's not as much fun, or I don't think as creative as it used to be, but I'm doing everything I can do just to stay afloat and keep the word out there of what matters to me. I don't know what else to say.
I think you said it perfectly. I mean,
I hope so.
But you're still performing. You're still making us feel good. You're still making us feel like individuals, that we're out there looking to find ourselves. And
yeah, well, I also hopefully I'm also still shaking people up to a certain extent.
Absolutely right. Yes.
Because it's like I'm just so sick of the whole damn thing. I'm so tired of like every extreme. It's like, just shut up, sit and listen, get with the program. I'm not interested in your feedback. You're not a critic. You're not a performer. You're just an audience member, and shut the fuck up and listen.
Right. It's crazy that all the subject matters that you guys had as plot points and issues are still issues to this day.
Yeah.
So the idea of making people comfortable just doesn't feel comfortable to me, because people need to be really, really, really fucking uncomfortable right now. Like really uncomfortable to make a change. But if you make people uncomfortable, then you get canceled. So,
well, it's their loss. I don't know. I don't know what people want. I think I said it before. When you have, Instagram and TikTok and all these outlets where people could set up their lights in their bedroom and do these rudimentary little, performances and dances and and commentary and I don't know what they're doing. That's all they're interested in. They don't want to hear from somebody like me. They don't want to be told that you've got to work to get where you are. They just want they want that, immediate gratification of being like loved a million times because you just did something completely asinine.
Right.
So
I mean, a lot of people are looking at this Kardashian-esque kind of popularity. Like, they post something with lipstick, or may not be a Kardashian, but people are walking through New York, I can't get by because they're looking to see how many likes they have on their TikTok or how many likes they have on their social media.
Well, people aren't even paying attention to each other in life.
That's correct.
I mean,
no one's
when you
up.
look at a film from, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you just walk through life, you remember that people used to walk and they'd look at their surroundings and they'd look at you and smile, or, they'd stop and look at a tree growing or a flower blooming. Now they're just like constantly looking at their phones and they bump into you or they ignore selfies, you.
Right.
And there's no connection. There's no humanity. So of course it's easy to be in a war. Of course it's easy to storm, the Capitol building. What were they all doing at the Capitol building? Taking films of themselves.
That's exactly
Look at me destroying democracy. They don't even know what democracy is.
Look at me in Pelosi's office taking a picture. Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is where culture has arrived. So, we can go on and on and on and beat a dead horse, but I continue to approach my work and my performing the way I always have, by writing, by honing my craft, by getting on a stage in front of people and demanding that we all commune in that moment. It's a community, and that's what life is about. We must commune.
We must go back to staring at people in the eyes and making connections. Connections was what it's about. I mean,
if you don't learn anything from wars or pandemics or political upheaval, then you're not learning anything. You're not learning about life. You're not learning about compassion and understanding and forgiveness and emotion.
Which is exactly what's happening now.
So we've got to get back to we've got to listen and look at the lessons that are being thrown in our face for our culture to evolve.
You were really ahead of your time in terms of all of the celebrity obsession and sharing opinions and the gossip that they were talking about. But it was all concentrated in your show. You have to go to the show to experience it, or you had to have gone to your shows, which I did. Every time you had a new show, which was playing downtown in the Village, I would go. And it brought me back to a place of hilarity and connection. And you were really, Sandra, the first person to not necessarily mock them, but this celebrity obsessed culture that we live in. You were talking about it.
Yeah, well,
and you were saying things about it.
Yeah, I was. And I was also saying I'm straddling both worlds. Not only am I a performer, but I'm also a human being. Right. And I'm also like swept up in my own excitement of being around celebrity, but I'm also holding up a mirror to what celebrity is. And that was what a lot of what my work was at that time. But again, now there's no way to do that because everybody is a celebrity. So it has no impact anymore. So I've pivoted into more personal anecdotal stories that I tell. And, you got to just keep, adjusting to the times.
How is it in terms of being a parent and watching your daughter with the social media? And I mean, this might be too personal of a question, but in terms of raising a child now, and Joy has a child too of 19, and, watching them and having talks with them about social media and becoming obsessed and all that stuff.
Well, we're kind of lucky because, she kind of hit that sweet spot where things hadn't quite come into full insanity when she was in high school. Mm-hmm. And I think that she got enough of a dosage of Instagram and all that to know that didn't make her feel good. Mm-hmm. And she was able and old enough to intellectualize it and make those decisions for herself. And it never became an issue, thank God. And she is, her own person. And she really doesn't try to throw herself into situations that are going to make her feel bad, because none of that's going to make any kid feel good.
No.
You can't pretend that you have all those things that these people say they have, whether it's beauty or clothes or success or, boyfriends or girlfriends. I mean, the whole thing is just madness. And she found her way away from it.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I'm so happy for her.
Well, you've raised a child who is socially aware.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, this is who her mother is, who's always been socially aware. Clearly, I'm a crazy fan, but you've raised another human being that, thank God, is socially aware and can probably have a conversation with an adult and look them in the eyes and talk about what's going on in the world.
Oh, and then some. I mean, she is. Yes. She's so well read. She's so interested. She's so inquisitive. She's so curious. She knows about things that I don't even know about, and often tells me, listen to this or look at this or read that, or, and it's so great that, that she is just so engaged and inspired by things. So we're lucky. My partner and I, my girlfriend, Sarah, who raised her with me, we're so proud of her.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hey, do you remember the first time that you went on stage? Do you remember a first joke that you told?
Oh, yeah. I've done this so many times, but I mean, it was at a little spot in Beverly Hills, right down the street from where I was a manicurist on Cannon Drive.
With a lot of celebrity clientele.
Yeah. It was called the Ye Little Club, Y-E, the Ye Little Club. And a woman who I knew, Judy Vallon, who was a singer, and she brought me there. And she said, you're so funny. Do comedy. You can sing later. And she had already set me up. She had talked to Paul Mooney and my friend Lotus Weinstock, my two dual, angels, my Jewish soul sister and my black soul brother. And so the first night I got up, some of my rudimentary pieces were, I walked out on stage and I stood for a minute. And I said, hello, I'm a medium. I understand you're a large, you're an extra small. That was my first joke. And then I did my Mary Tyler Moore impression from the Dick Van Dyke Show. Oh, Robert Petrie, you ruined the best birthday surprise I ever organized for you. So those were some of the first, pieces that I did back in 1975.
From doing people's nails. Well, you were actually on a kibbutz.
Yes,
which
I
brought you to Los Angeles to be a manicurist for the big celebrities, right?
Well, they were mainly just fabulous women who lived in Beverly Hills, not like Beverly Hills housewives, but real people who had money but didn't flaunt it. Diane Cannon came in, Jacqueline Smith, Victoria Principal. The ladies of the 80s.
The
ladies of the 70s, honey.
Well,
this was 75.
Yeah, you're right. Well, Charlie's Angels, you're right. Jacqueline Smith,
this is all
75.
This is all
Dallas,
70s.
yeah.
No, Dallas
Diane
was
Cannon.
later. Dallas was later. But who were just mincing or mincing over words here. But the bottom line is, I got so much from sitting there with women who were so groovy and so excited for me. And I'm still in touch with some of them. We're still friends all these years later. My friend Lynn Silbert and my friend Linda Dubin. These were ladies that were just really believed in me and adored me. So, it's so nice to have continuity in your life. I think it's really important.
Can you tell the story of how you got involved with Pose?
Oh, yeah. I actually was on a flight. Judith Light was on my flight, who I'm friendly with. So were the two writer-producers, Stephen, I'm going to forget Stephen's name, he created the show, and Our Lady J. So anyway, we're in JFK getting off the flight from LA, Stephen Canals. And we were going, American Airlines has the escalators that go down, then you walk across, and the escalators that go up. So we were all talking, and Judith introduced me to Stephen. I already knew Our Lady J. And by the time we got to the baggage claim, I said to them, I don't know if there's anything on the show for me, but I'd love to, to be a part of the ensemble. And they went, oh. Well, apparently they were casting Nurse Judy literally at that time. So they went and had a meeting with Ryan Murphy, who had been a fan of mine for years. And he said, absolutely perfect. I finally have a role for her. So they called my manager like 2 or 3 days later, and I got the role.
Wow.
So that was kind of magical.
And you got to sing on the show, which is, I got to buy the single. It's a great song.
Yeah, it's a Prince song.
Yeah.
Which I'd done in my live shows. So sometimes it snows in April.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song.
It's
and I love your version.
Song. Thank you.
It's a beautiful version. You can get it on iTunes right now.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Oh. Absolutely. You can get the cast of Pose, Billy and MJ and yourself and Patti LuPone, everybody singing at the benefit.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I was listening to your song over and over while somebody was very ill in my life, and it helped me get over it. What's next, Sandra? What's
Well, there's a bunch of stuff happening. I'm doing a little indie film. I'm playing a judge on that. There's some really great people in. I think Brooke Shields is in it. Krista Rodriguez, who played Liza Minnelli in Halston. Mm-hmm. So I'm shooting that in a couple of weeks, and then I'm supposed to go to LA to start shooting something which I can't talk about yet, but it's we're in negotiations right now. Hopefully I'll be able to announce that soon, but it's in the works. So it looks like things are picking up again.
Thank God.
Yeah.
What's your hope?
Inshallah.
What's your hope for our American theater and our beloved off-Broadway, where you started your career,
where I always come back to and flourish? Yeah. Well, I assume that we're on the right track in terms of COVID and people going back out to the theater. I think people are starving for, live performance, and if we can all keep our wits about us and stay healthy, I think that we'll get back to where we were before this all, went to hell, and get back on our feet and have the love and the respect for the performers and artists and actors and writers and all the people that put together live performances, and go back to supporting it and enjoying it and being inspired and moved and changed and opened up, and, you know, and just to celebrate the people who dedicate their lives to, you know, bringing the stories that we have to hear to life. And that's what it's all about. And that's where we're all headed.
I think it's a great way to end this.
Me too.
That's a great way to say it. Sandra Bernhard, I've been a super fan since we were doing leg lifts at, well, we used to call it American Princess. All the gays called it American Princess, but it was American Fitness.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, they called it Mary, I Can't Lift This. But that is our show. On Monday, March 14th, Joy and I will interview Theater Hall of Famer Linda Lavin.
Say hi to Linda.
Yes, I will. Tony Award winner, 6-time nominee, star of Stage and Screen. Miss Lavin has been on my wish list for a long time, and we are excited. I'm going to have to be taped to the chair so I don't come through the scream. And we are so excited to hear this conversation with you. The following Monday, March 21st, Joy and I will interview New York-based actress, writer, producer, Sass Goldberg. Currently in rehearsals for Here She Is Boys at MCC Theater. We will discuss her career as well as her support of female-founded businesses and her fostering of female voices entering the typically male-dominated world of neon design. Information about our guests in March and beyond, as well as how to attend our online recordings, can be found on our website, Live at the Lortel. Thank you for joining us. Let's all get vaccinated, get boosted, stay safe, and stay healthy. Theater is a habit, and we have all gotten out of practice. So please book your tickets and go see a freaking show.
Yes.
You won't believe how exciting it is to be back in the theater and back in the habit of enjoying live performances until you have done it. So go do it. And look for Sandra's next thing. Sandra Bernhard, you are incredible. You are an icon. I thank you for your life's work, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Me too. Thank you.
Boy, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. You're a joy.
Honey.
Have a great night.
You guys be well.
This podcast is brought to you by the Lucille Lortel Theater. Live at the Lortel is produced by George Forbes, executive producer yours truly, and associate producer Jeffrey Schubart. Press is provided by Sin Gogolak, GoGo Public Relations. And special thanks to Nancy Hurwitz, Alana Canty Samuel, Mara Levinus, Carla Liriano, and Ellen Chan. Live at the Lortel sound engineer and mixer is Brian Falk at Abacus Entertainment. Thank you so much for listening.